I think we're good to go. Are we good to go?
They are all yours.
Everyone good to go?
Awesome. Pretty hard. Melissa and I crossed all the hands. It was like 17-11.
Wow.
That's awesome. Fast for me, but I felt kind of sick.
All right. Hi, everyone. Is everyone here for? Yeah.
Yes.
So have a seat, relax.
We'll probably have them stringing like we did last time, but
Yeah, that's okay. Well, we
try to
started a
keep
little
it-
later this time, so
Yeah.
it's already a better start, I think, than we had last time, which is awesome.
We have a combination of the run group and the beginner's 5K group as well.
Wow, great. Well, I hope that everyone can benefit from what I've got tonight. So, as you saw by the sign outside, we titled tonight's presentation, Running from the Bottom Up. And when I'm talking about bottom, I'm talking about bottom. So the other, we tossed around the idea of just calling it, it's all about the bass. If you're up on the popular music song, but I thought that was a little edgy for us. So we went away from that. But basically what we're looking to do is maximize our hip and our glute function, okay? So the hip range of motion, the hip mobility, and your glute stability and strength to make you, of course, a safer runner, because the worst thing than not being a good runner is not running at all, and then maximize performance by engaging those hips and those glutes. So I want to take a brief 5 minutes to start and sort of go over a little bit of the kind of boring biology, anatomy, physiology stuff, just so you have an understanding of what I'm getting at, okay? So, hip joint is a ball and socket, right? Maybe we saw this growing up, we've seen this in the book somewhere, right? You've got your ball, it sits in its socket. And what's awesome about a ball and socket joint is that it's very, very mobile, okay? Our hips go into extension, well, we hope they do anyway. Flexion, right? We go abduction, we can actually cross midline, we can rotate, which is all great. Hopefully we have all of those ranges and we have full range in all those motions. But on the other side of the coin, when you have a joint that's that mobile, it requires a ton of stability, okay? And the number one stabilizer for our hip joint is going to be our glute, okay, or our backside. So what happens when we end up missing range of motion on one side of the joint, meaning that we get a tightness, right? Runners, tight hip flexors, anyone? Right? Okay. Sit all day at work, tight hip flexors, and then you do a lot of running, a ton of overuse. We're going to get a tightness in the front, and that automatically leads to a weakness on the opposite side. Okay? So we need to always focus on making sure that we've got full range in all movements, and then enough stability to kind of hold us there. So, who cares? Why is this important to you, right? Runners. And that is because the hips are the number one power generator for your gait cycle. If you don't have strength here, you're going to be losing your performance, and you're going to be making tons of different compensations throughout your gait cycle, right? Proper gait cycle means your leg must go behind you. If it doesn't go behind you, you can't propel yourself forward. But the problem is, if you have a really tight front of the hip, you're going to miss that full hip extension. So we got to do something to accommodate for it, okay? A great one is just, so if I take my hip and I don't actually move it behind me, but I start just arching from my low back, yeah, I can get that leg behind me, I can get some sort of push off, but it's going to not be ideal. And now we're starting to compromise spinal, your spinal position, and the spine is really important. We want to keep it healthy. We don't want to be compromising that position. And we're going to compromise power because we're breaking our spine, okay? So, we don't want to be running around in this kind of thing, all right? All right, we don't want to be really tight and running around in a very forward flexed kind of position. And we don't want to have to create any sort of, I'm sure you've seen here or there runners who do a ton of leg whip because you're missing that extension, so you're doing tons of rotation. So those are the different options, and our body's always going to find a way. So if you go for a run, your body is going to find a way to get the range of motion that you need, but if it's not ideal and you do it enough times, something is going to break. So my example is if we had, I had one, hold on. But essentially, if you take a popsicle stick and you start bending it, right, enough times, it'll snap in the middle. There it is, thank you.
Popsicle stick.
This is my popsicle stick, right? And our spine is supposed to kind of bow really nicely. All right? If everything's moving nicely, we can get a little bit of extension through our spine, but it's happening not segmentally. We start losing our hip extension, we do enough motions, and we end up with snap. Okay, bulging disc, nerve impingement down the leg. Now you're in the office seeing me, which means you're not running. Stinky. Not what we're going for. All right, so there's my kind of boring piece to the puzzle. All right, so essentially, in the end, if you show me somebody who's got really great hips that are super mobile, really, really strong glutes, 99 out of 100 times, I'm going to show you someone who's got no problems. All right, so that's what we're going for. And when we see people running with great technique, we're going to see, if we test them in the clinic, we're going to find that their hips are mobile and their glutes are strong. So let's talk about, so we're going to go through a bunch of different tests, okay, just like I did last time. Were any of you here last time? Anyone do any of the stuff that we kind of learned and have any success with it? Hopefully? Yeah? Yeah, cool. Good? Yes? Awesome. So we're going to kind of go through the same thing. I'm going to give you the different tests that you can put yourself through, figure out where you're lacking stuff, and then give you the fixes, all right? And there's lots of different ones. So we want to start out with a few different tools, all right? Basically, we're going to do 3 or 4 different techniques. We're going to do some soft tissue work, okay? We're going to break up any adhesions that you may have in the hip flexors, in the hamstrings, anything there that's a little off, okay? We're going to do good old-fashioned stretching. And we're also going to do some joint mobilization. So what we need, all right, my little self-mobility kit sits right next to my bed, comprises a softball, a tennis ball, and some sort of band, okay? We're going to use the balls to do a little bit of soft tissue work on ourselves. Basically, this is your Swedish massage deep tissue for significantly cheaper and daily. So if you're a professional athlete, you can get this done every day by somebody else, go for it. If you're like me, you can't afford that, here's the other option. All right, and then also, I noticed when I came in, in the corner, it seems, in a lot of stores, Runners Alley, I know EMS has, we've got tons of different, actual products on the market now for self-work. So if you want to take it a notch above and you want to grab, one of these grid kind of rollers, all right, or, the different types of balls. I saw someone using the stick earlier. You guys might have played with these things. These are all great recovery tools to help make sure that we keep your soft tissue sliding and gliding amongst each other as best as it possibly can. All right? So, that's our mobility tools. So you want to sort of build a little bit of a kit that you have with you. Get some sort of ball. Tennis ball is good. I also sometimes use a lacrosse ball for those of you who are a little more sadistic and want to feel the pain a little more, get a little deeper. So I go for that. Or as you progress and you go like, well, I've done a good job with my tennis ball, but I'm not really feeling this anymore. You can always progress to something a little bit more dense. So let's start out with the most important thing I think that you guys can take away from today. It's something that you can work on not 24, all your waking hours, okay? Which is a bracing sequence. I'm going to ask everyone to stand up for me. If you don't have a stable spine, all right, which means you're not engaging your glutes and your abs, throughout your gait cycle, you're going to do some funky stuff and you're going to give up power. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do, okay, you're going to just kind of pay attention to the posture you're in. Some of you are a little like this, some of you a little like this, whatever it may be. I'm just gonna ask you to brace your abs as if you were about to get punched in the stomach. Okay, as hard as you can. All right, nice and tight here. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna squeeze our butt, nice and tight. Okay, we are now braced. Now rub. Not gonna work. All right, let it go. That's 100% tension. What I'm looking for is somewhere around 20 to 25% tension. So you can run with about 20 to 25% tension, not changing your breathing pattern, but being much more braced, and you're now giving your hips, your glutes, all the muscles that will be working a significantly more powerful platform to push off of. So now, take that exact sequence at 20%. Turn your abs on, turn your glutes on. This is braced. This is where we need to start, okay? It's gonna take a little bit of a change to get comfortable, but I can walk around, I can continue talking, and be pretty well braced, pretty stable. I'm sort of ready to take a bunch, not the hardest one possible, but I'm significantly more stable now, and I can't open up to here. So as soon as I kind of get into this position, there's no more movement. So now, when I reach that leg behind me to push off, I've got a really great platform. So think about this, 24 hours a day, when you're awake, when you're standing, okay? You're at work, you're standing up, am I braced? If not, turn it off. This should become sort of automatic. I'm gonna go to sit down, I'm gonna brace before I sit down. Right? We've all been told our whole lives to have good posture. Well, the only way to get good at it is to work on it. All right, piece number one, if you take nothing else away, start bracing, at least trying a little bit with your run tonight, and start practicing every single day, everything you do, so that you are stabilizing that spine so you don't have to come see me for an injury like that. All right, so now let's get into the actual hips. Everyone can sit down now. Thank you. So I'm going to need this bench right here. I'll put it later than I expected. And do you mind volunteering for me? Because I have a feeling we're going to find some stuff we wanted to. So here's test number one, okay? This is a hip extension test. Okay, the question is, do you have full hip extension? The answer is yes. Great, good job, I applaud you. You're starting with one of the more important pieces of the puzzle. So I'm going to ask you to sit back here, okay? You're just going to grab your right leg, hold it nice and straight, and lean back. Okay, I'll kind of support you. If you don't have much room, I'm just going to let the other leg hang. Okay? So pull that right leg nice and tight, hold it there, lean back, lean back, lean back, lean back, lean back. Good. Now let that left leg hang. Can everyone see? We've got daylight here, right? Okay. Relax. That means that she's missing hip extension. So go home. Get on. Your bed may be a little soft. I don't care. Use the kitchen counter, dining room table, whatever. Don't break any china. Move it all away. And give yourself the test. Maybe you have somebody there to kind of see, is there daylight between your leg and the table? There shouldn't be. If there is, you are missing hip extension. This needs to be fixed ASAP. Thank you. Yep. All right. So, and was that the side that you're having the issues on? Yeah. So hip extension missing. There's some issues there. So how are we going to fix it? All right. Two really simple but effective stretches. Move this back out of the way. I'm going to start with a basic kneeling psoas or hip flexor stretch. Okay, anyone who wants to participate, you can stand up and give it a go. We're going to drop down into a lunge, okay, position. We're stretching the leg that's on the ground. All right. Now, I've seen this stretch done 1,000 times, and this is what I typically see. Okay, kind of this thing here, right? That look familiar to anybody? Yeah. I don't feel anything stretching. So, yep, stretch my hips, I'm ready to go. Not getting the actual hip stretch. We want to be upright. Okay, we want this to be at 90 degrees, and the key to this whole thing is to perform our bracing technique. Squeeze your abs, squeeze your butt. Okay, you're going to create what we call a posterior pelvic tilt. You're actually going to feel a stretch. right down, right in the front of that thigh, okay? We're gonna hang out here for a bare minimum of 60 seconds. I like to hold these stretches for 2 full minutes, okay? That's gonna be hip stretch number 1. Now, if you wanna take this to the next level, you wanna get a little bit of mobilization in the actual hip capsule, maybe you've got some hip tightness, you can use your band. You mind holding that for a second? All you're gonna do is throw your leg, oops, you got hold on tight, right into it, okay? And then drop into your stretch. Now, you're getting double bang for your buck. You're getting the band, stretching the capsule, okay, because you might have some capsular tightness, plus you're getting the gentle stretch in the muscle itself, okay? Now my favorite, because it's significantly more aggressive, is a wall stretch. I'm going to use this right here. So you may want to sneak around just so you can see where we're going to be here, okay? You need a little bit of a flat wall, all right? True hip extension is your knee up against the wall, okay? And the opposite leg in a lunge, okay? That's true hip extension. If you can do that, your leg gets behind you, all right? Really aggressive. And then on top of that, we can add the band to get that joint stretched out. Now, trust me, it took me 3 months every single day of screaming and crying to get there. Because when I saw it in a book, I went, no way. That's ridiculous. But, man, do my hips feel better. And essentially, after about 8 weeks of doing it, I bent over to pick something up off the floor and went like, oh, I feel like I have to stretch before I pick something up off the floor. It's a really nice feeling. So you can modify that one down. You can get just on a kitchen chair with that leg up behind you. Do the test, and if you find that there's something going on there, start stretching it. Not bad. So can everyone see the gap between the wall and his knee? It's about the Grand Canyon. And how miserable is that right now?
It's not bad.
It's not too bad. But if we ask you to get all the way back there, and what happens is if I ask him to get that leg all the way back, if I actually put him there, he can't get up beyond here because his hip flexor is going to keep him here. All right? So, thanks for your time. All right, so now we want to do some soft tissue work.
Can I ask a question before you go on?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So how much of that restrictions do you have?
So you're getting both your hip flexor and your quad
Right.
in the same exact stretch.
Right. What I'm saying is your ability to do that at the wall though,
Yep.
how much could some of the restrictions of being able to do that be because your quads are too tight instead?
Well, so it could be one or the other,
That's what I'm asking.
which is okay because you're going to hit them both in that stretch. So you're gonna get rid of, you were gonna sort of hit, that's why I really like it. So your rectus femoris, which is your quadricep muscle, the big one, crosses both your knee and your hip, right? So this stretch here in the lunge stretch is gonna get specifically your hip flexor. Whereas that one gives you a little bit of both, okay? If I had to pick one stretch I do, that's the one I would do every single day. I would get to the point where I push it, and then you can amaze your friends at parties, right? Because that's pretty awesome. All right, so now we want to do some soft tissue work. So we're going to grab out for this one. So basically, that hip flexor runs all the way up, okay, and attaches onto our pelvis. It gets up pretty high. And we may have just a muscle length problem, but we may also have what we call fibrotic tissue, meaning that instead of, I like to, when I make an analogy and how your soft tissue should look, they should look like freshly ironed sheets, okay? It should slide over each other, as if we had sets of iron sheets. Most of us, it looks more like a cotton t-shirt that's been balled up in the corner of a college dorm room for, months on end. So we get this like bird's nest kind of thing going on. And we can stretch that all we want, but if we don't actually break up the fibers and get them to slide and glide the way they're supposed to, we're not going to get the full range that we want. Okay, so this is when I break out my ball. So can I get another volunteer? Anyone? Brave soul, please. Come on. Do you mind laying on your back on the ground for me? Okay?
Yep.
All right, so you may need a partner if you want to do this test, but you can also do it just with the ball. Can you take a nice breath in through your belly for me? Good, and breathe out. Good, and breathe in again for me. Good, I'm gonna kind of poke into this area here, okay? Good, breathe out. I'm gonna hit and breathe out. Good, and I'm gonna poke right in there. Can you feel that?
Yep.
How does that feel?
Well, there is one spot that's,
Really
Yeah.
not enjoyable.
right.
Right. So that is her psoas all the way up there, okay? You're all set. Thank you very much. I appreciate your bravery, because you knew it wasn't going to feel good. So we need to work that out, okay? So what I would have you do is come on back real quick.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to take your softball, and you're going to lay on your belly,
Yep.
and put it right in that area
Yep.
that I found being sticky. Okay? And find that, so you kind of got to come in just a little bit of an angle. Good.
Yep.
Are you on it?
Yep.
Good.
Okay.
Then all I'm going to ask you to do is bend your knee for me.
This one, yeah?
Yep. And you're just going to kind of wag the dog.
Oh, really? So I don't have to do much more than that?
That's
Wow.
right. Can you feel that?
Yep.
Yeah. So you're going to work over that. Now,
Yep.
you want to get even deeper.
Yeah.
You can take the opposite knee and bring it up kind of like into a Spider-Man position.
Yep.
And that's going to even access more of that tissue.
Yeah, if you have the.
You have the flexibility.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
all right, 5 minutes in that area, working up and down into the hip. You
Yeah.
feel it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to break up the soft tissue. So here's how I do it. I spend my 5 minutes working up and down that side, and then I go spend 2 minutes on my wall stretch. And you'll find a huge difference. If you test yourself ahead of time, try your wall stretch out just for a couple seconds, go in, spend 5 minutes, unglue all the tissues, get them ironed out, and then go to stretch again. And you're going to be significantly more flexible in 5 to 7 minutes. All right, hip flexors. Those are my keys to that one. Any questions? Everyone understand? Cool. All right. All right, next test. So now, come on, right? All right, so we took care of phase one. Phase one is making sure that we're getting hip extension, okay? Phase two is making sure that we can actually use our hip extensors or our glutes, right? So now we got to test that. So we got a few of those, all right? I'm going to grab chair or bench. Can I borrow that again? Thank you. This is one of my favorite tests because it's called the chair of death. Volunteers? Come on up. It sounds way worse than it is. All I want you to do is face the chair, face the bench. Okay, this is gonna be the bench of death, and do a squat. Okay, now we're gonna make sure that we keep our spine nice and flat. Okay, and we just do a squat. All right. Yep. Awesome. Now, well, see. So here's what I see. Can you hang that? Can you hang out?
Sure.
Do you have any more depth? Pretty good. Now notice his shin stayed perfectly vertical, and his knee didn't push the chair, the bench forward. Okay, you can stand up. Thank you. All right. What that tells me is he can actually access his glutes. He passes.
Way to go.
Good job. Awesome.
Fill it in, guys.
Which means that he's going to have a more powerful stride because he's got something to push off of. Someone who doesn't have strong glutes, okay, is going to squat more like this. And you're going to hit into that chair. I don't know why they call it chair of death. It's really not that scary. And you're just going to go, essentially you become a quad squatter, okay? You're someone who's leaning forward. We do tend to see this significantly more in females. I'm sorry, ladies. Anatomically, you're built more quad dominant. Okay? Not the end of the world. Just going to take a little bit more work to access those glutes. So set your chair in your living room and squat. If you can sit down at the bottom of a squat and your knees don't touch the chair, you pass. You've accessed your glutes. If you go boom, Or trying to get to here, you're falling over, you have no balance. We're not accessing our glutes in the way that we should, and we're gonna have to strengthen that. We'll get to that. All right, I need one more volunteer. Anyone. This is not. How you doing? You pass. Moving on. All right. Do you mind laying down on your back for me?
Not at all.
Okay.
Just like this?
Yep. Just right there. Okay. Bend your knees, please. I'm gonna ask you. So this is a two-step test. Okay. Step one is just to make sure we're protecting our low back. You ever done a bridge before? So I'm going to ask you to push your feet into the ground and lift your hips up off.
Oh, okay.
Okay? I'm going to ask you to pick your hands up. What about this side? Good. While holding that position, what muscles do you feel working?
Quads,
Quads,
lower back.
low back. Okay. Down. As soon as we hear low back, we know that the abdominals have not been engaged. I'm going to ask you now, squeeze your abs. Were you here for bracing sequence?
I wasn't saying.
Okay. Squeeze your abs as if you're about to get punched in the gut.
Okay.
Okay? Don't worry, I'm not going to. Right? All you're going to do is just flatten nicely, okay? Now I'm going to ask you to lift up again, arms up in the air. Good. Different?
Yeah.
Where do you feel it now?
More in the abdominal area.
In your abs? How about your low back?
Not as much.
Not as much. A little bit in the glutes, in the butt?
A little bit, yeah.
Good. All right, so now we at least know that the abs are engaged. Not easy to hold. Good. So you're a perfect test. Now, staying where you are, okay? Come to full hip extension. Rest your head so you have something. Good. Squeeze your abs. Lift your hips up. Good. And I'm going to ask you to lift your right leg up off the ground. But wait. If I put a steaming hot cup of coffee right here, don't spill it, meaning you cannot drop the left hip. Got it? Go ahead. Good fight. Good fight. How hard are you working to not drop that hip?
Pretty hard.
Pretty hard. Good. Come on back down. Okay, drop your hips. Take a breather. All right. You don't have to run tonight. You've worked out.
Still got to run.
All right. Squeeze. Lift up. And we're going to do the other leg. Harder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see how that hip just dropped? You spilled my coffee.
Oh, sorry.
All right, relax. Stand up. So this is another easy test to do to see how strong your glutes. You should be able to stay perfectly parallel while on the one leg. Okay, once that hip drops, we know. Thank you. Appreciate it. We know that there's going to be a weakness. All right, and we're going to fix that weakness. So we can start with just the exercise that we just did. So just doing a bridge for him with his abs engaged was tough. So we're going to start with just that exercise. Laying on your back on your floor. Okay, using your bed, not great. Too soft. It's not going to give you anything to push into. And get to the point where you can do 3 sets of 10 bridges fairly easy. Once you get to that point, we're going to progress to a single leg bridge. All right? So now we can do a bridge with a march. So what you're going to do is take it to that point, step 2. So we're able to do 3 sets of 10, abs turned on, lifting up. All I feel is my glutes. I can do this all day long. All right? Now we end up with abs engaged, glutes engaged, and we just start marching back and forth. If you pay really good attention to me, the good left glute and the crappy right one. So we're just going to march back and forth, and you're going to feel those glutes and hamstrings scream. You get to the point where you can do 3 sets of 10 there. Take it up another level. Grab your leg, pull it nice and tight. This will stabilize your spine. And now you're going to go single leg bridge. Up and down. If you can get to 3 sets of 10 there, pretty safe to say your glutes are solid. And you have a nice push off, a good stable platform for you to push off of. All right, let's go through a couple more exercises. Just all about, again, all about the base, all about accessing the bottom when we're pushing off. So good spinal stability, bracing. We call these ones a Romanian deadlift, okay? Where we're just doing a stiff-legged deadlift. So you're accessing your glutes by pushing your hamstrings back, your